Okay, doctors, so real talk. How many of you guys are pulling up your schedule on the screen as your team is arriving, literally to the morning huddle? Maybe some of your employees are grabbing coffee, someone is checking their phone, and by the time everyone is actually seated and present, you have 8 minutes before your first patient. So what do? You rush through it. You cover the basics, and then you spend the rest of your day answering questions your team should have already known to answer. Does this sound familiar? Docs, that's not a morning huddle, that's a preparation problem. And in this episode, I'm giving you the exact system to fix it starting today. Welcome back to our Morning Huddle series. I'm Dr. Simone Ellis, and if you are just joining us, this is episode 2 of 5-part series where we're completely rebuilding how your morning huddle works from the ground up. So if you haven't watched episode 1 yet, go back and start there, because what we covered is the foundation of why we have huddles, and everything else in this series will build on it. So the link is in the description. But for all my doctors who did their homework, you timed your huddle, you wrote down what got covered, and you realized your team was leaving the room without a plan, good, because now we're going to fix the exact reason that's happening. The morning huddle is not one in the morning. Guys, it's actually one the night before, and today I'm gonna walk through exactly what that preparation looks like. So here's the thing that nobody talks about when they're complaining about their morning huddle not working. The huddle feeling in the morning is almost never about what is happening in the morning. It's about what didn't happen the night before. When the team walks into the morning huddle with no preparation, that meeting defaults to just being reactive. So what is happening is that the team is responding to what they see on the schedule instead of strategizing around it. And then you start identifying problems in real time as opposed to coming up with solutions that we've already mapped out. And that is the difference between a team that is reacting and a team that is prepared and showing up every single day with production numbers. So I want you to think about it this way. In a high-performing healthcare environment, pre-procedure preparation is not an optional thing. And if you've had surgery before, you know that the surgery doesn't just walk into the operating room. They usually have talked to you, they've revealed the case, they've identified risks, they've laid out the tools, and they've figured out what is going to be happening for this patient before the patient is prepped and on the table. So we want to think about your morning huddle like that. Your morning huddle is a pre-procedure briefing. And right now, most offices are trying to do the surgical prep while the patient is already in the chair. A reactive morning huddle is not a team problem, it's a preparation problem. And that preparation is entirely within your control the night before. So doctors, let's actually talk about what that preparation actually looks like, who owns what piece of it, because one reason that this does not happen consistently is that everyone is assuming someone else is going to handle it. The preparation for morning huddle falls into 3 buckets: the numbers review, the schedule audit, and the opportunity map. So each one of these has a specific owner and a specific window of time that it needs to happen in. So in bucket number 1, the number review. This is owned by the office manager, or if the doctor doesn't have an office manager yet, then the doctor owns it. And this happens the end of the business day prior, not the next morning. So the numbers we're reviewing, and we're answering these 3 questions. Where are we against the monthly production goal? Where are we against the monthly collection goal? And based off of the number of working days remaining, what does our daily target need to be to close this gap? Doctors, this is not a deep financial analysis. It is just a snapshot because we wanted to take about 10 minutes. The office manager is pulling these 3 numbers, they're writing them down, and they're ready to present this portion in the next morning. That's it. When that is done the night before, your morning huddle opens up with clarity instead of confusion. So your team knows exactly what they are working towards that day and why it matters. And when it's not done, you spend the first 5 minutes of huddle trying to remember where you were last month, and nobody has the numbers right away. The second bucket is the schedule audit, and this one is owned by the scheduler. It can also happen the night before, but ideally within the last business day. So what happens in the schedule audit is answering 4 questions. Number 1, what is the total production value of tomorrow's schedule? Number 2, what is the gap between the number and the daily target? Number 3, how many new patients are on the schedule? And number 4, who's on tomorrow's schedule that could be asked for a referral or a review? That last question is the one that most offices are skipping entirely, and it's one of the highest leverage things that a front desk can do. When your scheduler comes into the morning huddle with 3 specific patient names already identified, people she's built relationships with or rapport, people who actually love your practice, she is prepared to personally ask each one of them for a referral and review. And that's not just hoping for referrals, that's a strategy in generating them. The schedule audit should also flag any gaps on the schedule and come up with at least 2 strategies for filling them. Not just numbers to open up slots, but an actual plan. Who are we going to call from this recare list? And are there 3 patients that are on the unscheduled treatment list that have the same area of tomorrow's procedure? And the missed calls, if there were missed calls from the last 48 hours that need to be returned, what this preparation does is it changes the entire energy of the huddle, because instead of your team trying to figure out how do we close these gaps or feeling defeated, guys, they're already walking into the office with a plan. And the last bucket is called the opportunity map. So this one is the team effort, and it is the piece that moves the production needle the most. So the opportunity map is a quick audit that is done by the dental assistants and the hygienists before they leave the day, looking ahead at tomorrow's patients. For each patient that's on the schedule, they are asking, does this patient have any pending treatment in the same area we're working on tomorrow? Is there any same-day treatment opportunities we can flag for a treatment coordinator? Are there any hygiene patients who are also due for a doctor's exam or vice versa? This doesn't have to be a sit-down or formal process. It's just literally the assistants and the hygienists pulling up tomorrow's schedule, scanning through their patients, and making a few notes. This should take about 10, maybe 15 minutes, but if the schedule is full, this allows the opportunity to transform the assistants and the hygienists to be able to report in the morning and have an actual procedure plan and game plan for the day. Guys, it's just gold. So here's first takeaway that I want you guys to work on. Assign 3 prep responsibilities in your practice this week. So if you're going to do numbers review, I want the office manager to finish that by the end of the business day. If you're going to do scheduling audits, scheduler needs to have the last hour of the business day to review the schedule. And if it's the opportunities map, you have to assign the assistants and the hygienists before they leave. Put it on paper, make the expectation. The prep is where the morning huddle is actually won. Now, everything I just walked you through is the nightly prep, but there is another layer of preparation that has the highest performing offices doing what most offices are not even aware of. And guys, I call this the 72-hour prep. A 72-hour prep is a system that is looking 3 days out instead of just 1 day. And the idea is built behind this because you want to have the best amount of time to solve the problems on your schedule before it comes urgent. Here's what it looks like in a practice. Every day, someone in your office, typically like the treatment coordinator or your office manager, is looking at the schedule 3 days from now, asking, are there any patients that we have incomplete treatment plans on that we haven't discussed? And are there any open slots that are on the schedule that are more likely to become cancellations? Maybe like the late afternoon slots or the early morning slots that historically don't hold. Another thing you can ask is that are there any patients with outstanding balances that are scheduled that need to be contacted before their appointment comes up? Docs, when you are addressing these things 3 days out, you have time and you have options. And when you're addressing these things the morning of, you're just doing damage control. And the difference is how your team feels when they are trying to figure out how to make this production significant. So here's takeaway number 2. If you want the full 72-hour prep system, including the exact checklist that we use in the daily prep structure that makes this office run consistently without having to remind anyone, check out my Practice Freedom Framework Vault. The link is in the description. It is one of my favorite, single most documented, downloaded documents that once you see it, you're gonna understand why we do it this way and why my doctors are so successful. Now, I wanna talk to you about something that comes up every single time I introduce this prep system in an office, because I know some of you are already thinking, well, what if my team doesn't do prep? And here's my honest answer. If your team is not doing any prep, 1 or 2 things are happening. Either the expectation was never clear enough to be taken seriously, or that the standard has never been held consistent enough for the team members to believe that they actually matter. And both of those things are leadership problems, and that's fixable. Docs, when I implemented this into my own office, I didn't launch it with like a motivational speech. I made it a part of the job description. The end of the day prep became a non-negotiable closeout task The same way turning off my equipment or locking the door was not negotiable. It's not optional depending upon how busy the day was. It's a part about how we close the office every single day. And here's what I noticed. Once the team started coming into Morning Huddle with the prep done, the huddle itself transformed. The conversations in my office shifted from being reactive to strategic, and people were actually engaged because they had something to contribute. And the ones that didn't, well, they didn't last long in my office. The office manager was not scrambling to pull numbers, and the scheduler wasn't trying to remember who was or wasn't on the schedule, and the assistants were not caught off guard when the same day opportunities came up. Everybody was prepared, and it showed how the day ran. So my third takeaway is introduce the prep system as a standard and not a suggestion. Docs, you should document exactly what each person is responsible for, what they're prepared, and when do you need it by. And the first week, people are gonna be like, you're gonna need to remind them because they're not gonna remember. But by week 3, they should be doing this. And if not, accountability is a standard that you need to set. I wanna paint a picture of what Morning Huddle actually feels like, because the prep, when it's done, it feels so good, right? When your team has done the numbers review, the schedule audit, the opportunity map the night before, your Morning Huddle, it doesn't start to feel like somebody is pulling teeth, literally. It starts to feel like with the office manager standing up saying, our monthly goal is 100,000, and we have 68,000 currently on the schedule across the remaining working days. And our target is 6,200, and we're short 1,400 on today's schedule. Here's the plan on how we close the gap. That was 30 seconds. And if your entire team is experiencing that, it went from being scattered to being focused. The scheduler follows up with specific patients that she's asking for referrals and strategies that she's ready to have to fill the slots that are open, and the new patient count is active for the month. The assistants, they bring the same type of energy with those same day opportunity flags, and your hygienists flag any patients that are conditions that the doctors need to have conversations with to get treatment. So the whole thing is running in 30 minutes because everybody came in ready. Nobody is trying to figure it out in the room. They are executing a plan and building that the night before. That's what a prepped Morning Huddle feels like. And once your office experiences this, I promise you guys, they are never going back to the reactive version. So doctors, the Morning Huddle is not 1 in the morning. It is 1:20 and 30 minutes of preparation that is happening the night before. 3 owners, 3 prep responsibilities, a consistent standard of when it gets done. Do that consistently and your Morning Huddle is going to transform. Your team is gonna stop walking into the rooms reactively and start walking ready to execute. In episode 3 of our Morning Huddle series, we're gonna get into the roles, and I mean every single role: the office manager, the scheduler, the insurance coordinator, the treatment coordinator, the dental assistant, the hygienist, and the doctor have in Morning Huddle. Each person has a specific job in the huddle and reporting it a specific way. And that's where the Morning Huddle goes from actually feeling like a good idea to actually functioning like a business meeting it's supposed to be. So subscribe so you can catch when it drops, and drop a comment right now. Which of the 3 prep responsibilities is the biggest gap in your office? Is it the numbers review? Is it the schedule audit? Is it the opportunity map? And I wanna know and exactly what's going on before we go into episode 3. See you there.